I really think that the biggest barrier is just knowing you have a chance. I think you preach that a lot in your sports psychology with your athletes, but just knowing you have a chance is the hardest barrier that anyone can get past. And that's because we tend to look at things very objectively. We tend to measure up against others. And the bottom line is, once you start doing that, you kind of marginalize yourself by default.
This is the Gold Medal Mindset, where we bring you all things winning in business, sport, and life. I'm Dr. Jason Richardson. Thanks for joining in. Get ready to mine for gold as we challenge your perception to change your results. Welcome back, people. Gold Medal Mindset here with a very good friend and past competitor, but I prefer that I call him my friend because that's what he is. We go way back. My man, Greg Romero, he's known in the bicycle BMX racing circle as Coach G, bmxtraining.com. I thought I'd have him on the Gold Medal Mindset because he has a great story about transitioning out of professional athletics and running a very strong online business and coaching business. So he's the perfect candidate for winning in business, life, and sport. Greg Romero, how you doing?
Good morning, Jason. Thank you very much. Those were very, very kind words. I appreciate that.
I'm a kind guy. You know that. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, me too.
About time.
I'm always happy, so.
That's good. That's good. What is it? Is it breakfast time there? Are you just having a coffee or tea or what?
Oh, I have a glass of water.
Okay. I like
just
that.
Just trying to stay hydrated.
I like that. It adds some authenticity to the recording. The fans love it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm tired because I've been training really hard with my hobbies. So whether it's working in business or physically training on my bicycle or in the gym, I always go all out.
I think you go all in. That's kind of your deal. Like you're pretty.
Yeah.
When you do something, you go deep. I mean, and so let's start there. Let's rewind a bit, right? So we raced each other as BMX racers and traveled the world, blah blah blah. But what are the quick stats of your professional racing career? Just real quick. I know you have over 100 pro wins or something crazy like that.
Yeah, I have over 100 pro wins. Racing since 1983, so that's over 3 decades.
Yeah.
But I pride myself even more so with the success of my coaching and my coaching business. So, that's the key in life, man. You just got to get over yourself and keep moving forward. It's nice to say, hey, I have some experience in racing, but, more so again, in the last 10 years, I've found more success in business and coaching and helping others. So that's truly what I pride myself on.
Yeah, and I think it's been noticed not only by us, some of your peers, but also the people with whom you work. Clearly, you transitioned well out of racing. I mean, there's a lot of athletes. Forget bike racers, but we see athletes all day long catching cases or selling championship rings on eBay or just having trouble transitioning out of the limelight, if you will, but you seem to have done it gracefully, and not only just gracefully, but healthy, in a very healthy manner. So, what was the writing on the wall? Not that it was over, but just as far as your next move, how did you set up that timeline or that vision for your future as you were exiting your racing career?
Yeah, I think about halfway through my professional career, it was obvious to me that I didn't know anything else but BMX racing, and of course I had a really deep passion for BMX racing, and more importantly, I love the preparation, I love the training aspect, and I wanted to, and of course, a little bit more and create a business. So I've kind of had this vision of that, and of course, with the inclusion of BMX into the '08 Olympics, I really want to be a part of that and help contribute some success to that. First time being around, And so I just kind of always had that vision of going to Beijing with some athletes and helping them attain some high success and, more importantly, come out with medals. And really, I think that was kind of like the jump start to the vision of my coaching, and of course, building my coaching business.
Right, right. And right out the box. I mean, it seems like it was right out the box, but you had essentially, before you even got to Beijing, I mean, you had started working with people one on one, or maybe in a relatively larger group
Yeah.
setting. But yeah,
Yeah, in
you
fact,
went to, go ahead.
sorry to interrupt. Yeah, no, in fact, when I was still racing at a high level, I was actually coaching some of my competitors, as well as other riders at the time. So I was already working on that transition of exiting out of professional racing and moving on to coaching. And I think that's very important, is to set yourself up for a transition while you're doing something, no matter what it is. If you're for example, if you're a school teacher and you want to get into coaching, then it's probably not a bad idea to start coaching while you're still teaching.
No,
Or
I
yeah.
commend you for that, because even I was on someone else's podcast. I believe it was Cody Sanchez, and she asked if I had any advice for people, and I looked at my own self and I was thinking, I probably could have started this talking, speaking, my coaching business, all of the above, as I was racing as well. So my advice was,
Yeah.
start yesterday. And so that was the one cool thing,
I like that.
looking at you, you know, um, we live about 20 minutes apart, and so we're always kind of watching each other, so to speak. But looking at you, that's the one thing that I'm probably most impressed with, is like, you essentially, you just started. It wasn't like, I'm going to wait to get this, or I'm going to wait till the timing's right. It's like, no, I'm starting like now. I'm doing it.
Yeah, I think I learned early on in my professional BMX racing career that it was really weird. The old guard of the pros that were in the league, if you will, kind of painted this picture that you had to pay your dues, so to speak. And I went through that process, and regretfully, I don't think I needed to pay my dues. I just needed to start having success right off the hop. And so I've kind of something that I've learned to carry on into new beginnings, if you will, whether it's hobbies or business or anything else. Is I have that belief that, hey, you know what, you could just have success right off the hop. You don't have to necessarily pay your dues. So I think if anyone can get anything out of this podcast, I think that would be the key to this message, really.
Yeah, that's a concept I don't think most people get,
Yeah.
myself included, because sometimes we forget. Because I think sometimes we look at success as like down the road, kind of like a destination,
Hmm.
versus like, yeah, you may not have the gold medal client right off the bat, but success, I mean, you're training people that you're racing, or you're racing with, or racing against, however you want to look at it. But the success is like, sometimes the success, and I always say, define your wins. Sometimes the success is starting. Okay, boom, that's a success. The success is, oh, you actually want to work with me? Cool. Regardless of how much they pay you. The success is, that, if in your coaching world, that rider, racer making gains, whether it's in the gym or with their results. So the success, and learning how to track that, count it, and define it, I think is huge. And again, like, having, being able to pay your dues,
Hmm.
because I do think there are levels, and I think most people would agree, but I think
Sure.
that it's not necessarily like, let me, it's not an elevator, right? It's not like you get in on the ground floor and you press the button and magically you're at the penthouse. I mean, the success is
I
like,
think
Go
Just
ahead.
getting into the elevator is success.
Exactly. Like I'm in. Here,
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
in. And that's but
Yes.
and so and you inherently look at it like that. And I
Yes.
think a lot of other people, and
Have a
myself,
hard
and
time.
have a hard time kind of think it's like, oh, how come I'm not at the penthouse yet? It's like, dude, you're
Yeah.
on the third floor, you know. And
Right.
and the funny thing is like, you don't think the third floor is that big of a deal, but it's like, I dare you to jump off then. Jump off of the third floor,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you're still going to go splat. So
Yeah.
obviously you've gained, and
Yeah, and
so
I think I'm sorry to interrupt,
no,
Jason.
please.
I really think that the biggest barrier is just knowing you have a chance. I think you preach that a lot in your sports psychology with your athletes, but just knowing you have a chance is the hardest barrier that anyone can get past, and that's because we tend to look at things very objectively. We tend to measure up against others, and the bottom line is, once you start doing that, you kind of marginalize yourself by default and in so many aspects. So I think just knowing that you have a chance is the hardest part. And in terms of teaching someone to learn to know that they have a chance, let's see if I can come up with something here. Um, well, I guess for me, I guess just having an opportunity is the key, but it's that's too easy to say, right? So I think when it came to sport, I look at road racing, for example. It's BMX is an anaerobic sport. Road racing is an anaerobic endurance sport.
Hmm.
Both kind of share the same energy system. One is just has to endure longer. So knowing that I had the speed to compete at the end of the race, I just needed to work on building endurance, making my anaerobic engine endure a 1 hour race. Um, so for me to be able to look at one component and say, I have that, all I got to do is work on this, and that gave me some light to go ahead and dive in. I'll give you another example, and we spoke about this earlier about talking about some hobbies that I just randomly just dive into, surfing or ice hockey. Ice hockey was a great one. I've never skated in my life. At the age of 35, one day I decided to go to the skating rink to try out ice hockey because I still couldn't understand the concept of a 5 millimeter wide blade on ice and how you stand up. Nonetheless, I wanted to try it out. Turns out it was a lot easier than I thought. And of course, I was a hockey fan for 5 years prior to that, watching many NHL games following the Pittsburgh Penguins. Nonetheless, um, I decided to, I thought about the concept of playing adult league ice hockey. So I just kind of as soon as I was able to strap on skates and get on the ice, I knew I had a chance to play hockey. I mean, it was simple as that, despite the fact that hockey, oh my gosh, it is a very, very complex sport of many different skills going on. First and foremost, you have to know how to skate. You got to know how to stop. You got to know how to go. You have to learn how to do a basic forward stride. You got to be able to skate backwards. You got to be able to do crossovers. And then on top of that, you got to be able to handle a stick while you're doing all those skills, which is even harder in itself. And then, again, there's 3 or 4 different things going on the ice. The ice is slippery. There's other people around. People are skating really fast. Very, very hard sport to pick up, but I just knew that I had a chance as soon as I was able to put those skates on the feet and stride around. That's when I had the light, and that's when I had the idea of learning a new skill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's funny because I went skating with you one time, and with my son. You actually helped my son because he was playing ice hockey for a bit,
Yeah. Yeah. I
and it was
remember.
so. Um, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way at all, but it was so funny. Like you looked funny on skates, not because you looked funny on skates, but because you were so good on the skates. And and it's just
Yeah. Thank you.
well, I mean, but I'm used to seeing you on a bike. I see you on a
Yeah.
surfboard. We've been snowboarding before, but I was like,
Yeah.
this, like what? Like it was just so weird to see you on, and then you were all jacked up about it. And you're like, Jay, try this or try that or check this out. And you were like trying to have me do drills or whatever on the ice. I'm like, I just want to like go in a circle. But
I have a bad habit of doing that, by the way. When I get involved in a hobby, I try to lure people in. It's like a typical addict saying, "Hey, come join me."
no, that's hey, misery loves company, right? But
That's it.
but so does happiness, right? So you just want people.
Yeah,
It's like when you have a really good. It's like when you're at a restaurant, and you're eating something really good. It's so good you have to let other people know, or they
you
have
got
to
to
try it.
share.
Yeah, so that's a winning mentality if you ask me.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but that is a thing with you. Like we both kind of. I mean, I know surfing was my transition sport. It helped me a great deal as I
Yeah,
was transitioning out of racing. But again, you got into it. I mean, and not even just like, oh, I go surfing every day. Like you get to like a level, right? You get to a point to where like you are at a measurable level in that sport, whatever it is. And so you went from surfing, and then you went, then you started doing the ice hockey thing, and you got into it. And I remember going to your garage, and you had some kind of something set up, and you'd always be, I don't know what you had in your garage, but it was something, and you had pucks lying all around, and you were doing these stick drills, just talking, and like,
right. Yeah, I think I had a hockey net, which an old Canadian BMX client purchased for me, gifted to me one time. And yes, I had like a sliding board where you can stick handle on a polyurethane sheet of it was a plastic like a plywood piece, if you will,
right,
but it was made out of polyurethane, so the puck would slide, simulating ice. And then, of course, you could go ahead and shoot it right into the net. So I did practice a lot of slap shots, snap shots, wrist shots, and I was taking probably about 100 shots a day, just like a 10-year-old kid trying to master the slap shot, in the backyard. So yeah, I just have a bad habit of going into it very, very deep, studying the game, studying the progressions. The one thing I love, Jason, and is the progressions, and that's what. Honestly, I wasn't a good coach when I first started coaching in terms of the fundamentals. And so I had to relearn to teach beginners an effective and, more importantly, an efficient way to simplify things. I mean, coaching and teaching is all about simplifying the complicated and making it very easily digestible for them. So I learned that right off the hop, and I think taking up ice hockey had taught me the progressions, and more importantly, helped me out with refining the progressions in our sport of BMX racing. So therefore, that's why I came up with the educational series of the many various skill sets of our sport in BMX racing, whether it's sprinting coming out of the gate or simply jumping. Um, Learning from a beginner's aspect has helped me. Learning from a beginner's aspect in other sports has helped me even become a better coach.
yeah, because you get to when one, right, not just you, but when one gets to a certain level, especially a high level, and I'll use my dad for an example. I mean, because he's been operating his business for I don't know how long. He's amazingly successful, and I think a lot of the things that come natural to him, he'll look at me, me, right, and I went like all
Yeah,
the way too. He'll look at me and be like, "Why the hell are you doing that?" because
right.
because he's seeing me struggle or fumble in a certain area or certain aspect of my business, or just or God forbid how I set up my garage or something. But anyways,
Sure.
but
Or
but he
I
but
remember
he's
I remember that your father even getting on my case trying to coach me about shaving. He's like, "Why are you running shaving cream?" He's like, "Just take the blade and start shaving."
right. So
I was
simplify,
like,
right?
"Wow, dude." I was like, "I never thought of that."
Right. But it's so funny. You get so far along in your own mastery of whatever it is that
Yes.
when it's time to break it down, and it's really a testament to how efficient our brains are, because you get so efficient in that mastery that you I don't know, you forget how to break it down to its fundamental pieces. So you going back to surfing, or not even going back to saying going to surfing and going to hockey and being the beginner and then getting
Yes.
better and getting through those progressions. Not only are you
Yes.
mentally aware of maybe that fear or doubt along the way, or can I do this, or how does this work, and just kind of dealing with that struggle, but yeah, you're intimately aware of the progressions and what it's like, because somebody had to break it down to you, or you broke it down to yourself to get that turn right, to start skating backwards with some efficiency, to go left on the wave instead of right. Um, just those cuts and reading the water and all that stuff.
Right.
So what do you think was the most fun part about translating it all? When did it really click for you? Not even that the most fun part, but when did it really click for you to where your coaching business kind of was, I don't want to say went into overdrive, but really you hit a stride with your business?
Well, I think my business started out as a service, and I was one of the first guys to do it. And that was about 12 years ago. That was on the internet. And of course, it really hit its stride when I started developing educational products and I was able to reach more people outside the people that I can touch, which was, here locally in the United States. And I've always had a vision of helping out more people. The more people I can help, the better off the sport is. That's the way I see it. And with the power of the internet 10 years ago, I saw that immediately. And I saw that when I was coaching riders all over the world with high performance training programs. And then of course, there was a barrier to that because not everyone could afford my services at the time. So when I came up with the products, it lowered the barrier of entry and therefore more people can have access to me. And when I saw that, that's when I was like, okay, I just need to develop more products and keep it going and keep it going. But yeah, that's what life is all about, really. It's just, I don't know. I guess I can get off into a tangent here, but I think it's really important for people to understand that you just got to keep moving, man. You just got to keep progressing. You got to keep moving forward. You can't stay stagnant, and that's the way I looked at my business. Cause now I've gone from hands-on coaching to online coaching to offering products. Now I've started a membership website to where, we're almost past DVDs. I mean, DVD players are becoming extinct. So now it's all about having access to me and getting. Sorry, my dog's running around.
That's all right. They know I'm on the line, and you know how your dogs act when I come over, so they can sense it.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, the membership website is just another solution to basically the world evolving, in terms of information and education. So yeah, it's funny. And you said the words, I should have started this yesterday. And honestly, this was something that I thought of 5 years ago. And we actually had a website built up about 3 to 4 years ago. And then I just wasn't ready for it. I don't know what happened. I don't know what the barrier at the time was. Maybe I got distracted with hands-on coaching. But hindsight's 2020, right? And I wish I would have started it 4 years ago, because I think the sport would have been better off in terms of some of the ideas that I've had and that are actually working now. So, well, there it is, people. If you come up with a good idea, don't
start yesterday. That's the moral of the story.
Start yesterday. Yeah, start yesterday, and don't let anyone talk you out of it. More importantly, just do it.
Right.
Just try it.
Right. And
the worst thing that can happen is you fail.
But that's not even the worst thing that can happen is that you don't start, or that you don't try, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because oh man, and I think that's a bit of a generational thing, but I think all of us carry some kind of pre-programmed fear / doubt, worry and we all have different tolerances and thresholds of that. But it's what I loved about what you just said is had I started it sooner or 4 years ago, the sport would have been better. We all would have benefited from it. So
Absolutely.
that's the other thing that I love about being an outsider on your career or on your professional development, Greg, is that as a racer, pro athlete, whatever you want to call it, like we were all very much me, 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 me. I. Not that you weren't a nice guy or anything, but it's kind of a default. It's kind of a default state, given that you're so immersed in your training or your lifestyle and getting better, and finding that next thing to go a little faster and do a little better. Working for those percentage points.
Yeah.
But what I loved about what you said is, the sport would have been better, right? And that's not to, and I don't think that's a pat on the back of like, oh, my stuff is so good. I think it's really like, no, I'm doing this. Yes, it's a job. Yes, I want to make money, but I'm really doing this so that everyone who races a bicycle on dirt can go faster, do better, and be happier doing it. And that to me is the other side of it, which and I've heard you speak on this on many occasions about offering value, being of service. It's not about me. Just talk more about that philosophy, because I don't think
Sure.
enough people recognize that, because people go to work to make money. People go into business to make money. And I think it gets to be about me, 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 even if they're not necessarily a narcissist. But, if you could talk about that yin and yang, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I'm going to be able to answer what you just said, but there was something on my mind that I wanted to say, and it's very, very simple. I think the key is to get over yourself. In anything you do, especially if you have any kind of ideas of helping people and making a living doing it. The key is to get over yourself. And I've learned that quick in business, because it's like, people want to know what I've done, sure, in my racing and what I've done with my coaching, and they'll give it a quick nod and say, oh, that's great, but at the end of the day, they want to know, what the heck can you do for them?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the real world. So I think the key, really, at the end of the day, it's great that you have accolades, it's great that you have achievements, it proves that you're capable of doing what you need to do. But at the end of the day, I think the person on the other end, they want to know what you could do for them. And I think that's really important to understand. And so once I've understood that, I've learned how to get over myself very, very quickly, which I see in the sport a lot of people have a hard time doing, and just in life in general.
Mm-hmm.
Life in general. So it's kind of like my bmxtraining.com. You don't see my first name in front of it. It's just bmxtraining.com. Very, very simple. It doesn't need to say Greg Romero in front of it. It's bmxtraining.com. And you see that with like casinos, like, so-and-so's casino. It's like, what the heck is that? It's like
the Wynn? Trump?
Yeah, Steve Wynn.
Yeah.
Steve Wynn's casino. And it's like, or, the South Point. I was reading the other day, I was looking at hotels to go. I was looking for rooms to go to South Point, and I was going to go and set up. But unfortunately, I had a little mishap with my car where I got T-boned. It was a light fender bender, where I got T-boned. It looks like cosmetic damage, but for the most part, like I'm having a door seal issue, and this just happened the other day. So that I just decided to cut the cord and not go. But I was looking at it, and it was like there was some first name in front of the South Point Casino. I'm like, who's that guy? I've never heard of him, but it was a big deal for him to have his name on there. Don't know why, but for me, it ain't going to matter. Like I either want to be at that hotel or not. It's not going to be because of some guy's name in front of it.
Right.
But I just look at funny things like that. I think it's very important for you to get over yourself. And that way you could be of better service. Now, if you're flexing your achievements because you want to compare yourself to others, that's bad for business too, because once you start doing that, once you start comparing yourself, you've marginalized yourself. So that's one thing I do not do with my coaching. I do not compare myself to other coaches. You'll never ever will hear me say that, or you'll never hear me do that.
I don't.
Quite simply because you once you do that, you've marginalized yourself. I offer a different value compared to other coaches. I have unique circumstances, unique experiences, and I'm doing things that that guys have ridiculed me 10 years ago have all of a sudden decided that they're going to do today. And I think that's quite funny. But nonetheless, I do not marginalize myself. I look at ways to not marginalize myself. And one thing is comparing. So I try not to compare myself. And if you look at guys like Michael Jordan, guys that are the best at what they do, they do not compare themselves.
No,
They just don't.
No,
They don't.
one of the exercises I have people do is, and I'm actually looking at it right now, is it's a simple sheet of paper, and it just says, what are my standards? What are my standards?
Love it.
What are my life standards? What are my health standards? What are my money standards? What are my career standards? What are my fun standards? What are my relationship standards?
Love it. Can you help me out with that after this phone call?
What are you doing today?
Oh, I got to get. I got to run a bunch of errands.
All right. I was gonna say
But
we go catch lunch. It has been a minute, but no. But what you're saying is you have your standards, right? Personally.
yes,
And then
unbeknownst to me, I guess I did.
you
Yes.
do.
Yes.
You know them, but again, right? Once you get to a level of mastery, sometimes you just operate in that world, and so you don't really
Yeah.
always take specific notice of it. So you're operating in your world of standards, and by the way, increasing them, right? Because you're keeping moving, you're keeping progressing, and then
Yes.
and that's your internal kind of locus of control, your internal motivation, and then as a coach, right, as a helper, as a person doing commerce, you're saying, okay, how can I best make you / help you achieve what you want to achieve? You want to get stronger? Cool. You want to get faster? Cool. You want to win some races? Cool. You want to go to the Olympics? Cool. You want to win a medal? Great. So and then from there you're like, okay, well then I can't talk to everyone personally. I can't spend 2 hours with everyone personally, right?
Right.
But this DVD, I can spend an hour with them virtually or digitally through this DVD. I can provide them with another pro's insight on my website. I mean, geez, I could guess how they won the race, but I'll just ask them how they won the race and make that available
Absolutely.
to my client, to the world. And
Yes.
so providing, really understanding, and that's the beauty. That's to me where it all comes together for you is like you've gone deep in BMX racing as a racer. Then you went deep in hockey and surfing. We didn't even talk about your road racing, which you went deep in.
Got to keep moving.
The last
Gotta
couple of
keep-
years. But
Yeah.
but it allows you to go deep, right? Like
Yes.
you're getting in the habit of just going deep in general,
Yes.
and then you peel off the layers and you're like you learn the fundamentals and provide that to the world. That's
Yes.
winning. I mean, that's mastery. That's and by the way, like I went to school all the way, and I got none of that in school. So that's the other thing about having both of watching both of our journeys as we've been kids and we've known each other since high school or possibly even before, is that from an academic standpoint we went in two different directions, yet we somehow found kind of met again, professionally.
We're still here.
Yeah, we're still here. And so there's so many different ways to go there, but if you're not offering value, if you're not going deep, if you're not progressing, regardless of accolades or not, I mean, all it is just, fancy marketing. but there's no there.
Right. There's no substance. There's no growth, more importantly, but yeah, I think it's important to keep moving just for growth.
So what's your next thing? Is it Mr. Grower?
Well, like I said,
you're the farmer of growth. So yeah, well, but so
in terms of my personal business, I've always been lucky to act on my passion. So, I mean, right now with our website, with my website BMX Training, of course, I have the membership component, which is taking off, and it's getting a really great response. And there's another aspect to our website where I'm doing media. So that's I don't want to say media in terms of like news media. It's more of unique pieces. I love editing. In fact, all my digital products, I do everything from soup to nuts, from intellectual concept to filming to editing to to retail ready, if you will, whether it's a digital or a tangible product. I do everything myself. So in terms of the coaching business, in terms of the BMX training business, the coaching business is still going to happen. It's still working. It's still going. There's still guys that want, hands-on access to me. They want me to be their advisor with them. And of course I have the membership business. And then of course I have the media side, which is something that I'm looking down the road. And who knows, I may potentially exit, from one thing to another, but it's something that's a passion of mine. I've always watched TV and watched TV commercials in a unique way in terms of editing and setting up the shot and getting the shots. And no, not many people knew this, but Justin Cosman, who's a renowned producer, director. Of course, that comes with editing, shooting film, video. He's been
Justin
pretty much
does. Justin does huge projects for ESPN, Vans, some large
Red
development
Bull.
companies, Red Bull, land development companies. Yeah, Justin Cosman is and very under the radar. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Very, very talented guy and very, very intelligent guy. And he's helped me out with a lot of my various products. We've actually teamed up on some partnership stuff, and he rubs my back, I rub his, and I've actually progressionally from a producer standpoint have started learning the progressions of, I don't even know what you want to call it, media. I started to become I was a grip guy on one of his shoots for Puma Golf, on a couple different occasions where we actually shot their spring catalog this past winter with some models. And of course we did another shoot with Puma Golf, Ricky Fowler and another chick named Lexi. I forgot her last name. Mm-hmm. Beautiful young gal. Who's also sponsored by Red Bull, and both these guys have went to the Olympics first time. So that was really unique. I was a grip guy on one occasion where I was just a light guy. I was just shining light, creating light out of nothing, and trying to set up Justin with a well lit shot. I did that for 7 hours following him. We did this on a golf course, and then another shoot again we did with Ricky Fowler and Lexi, where we conducted interviews, and they were shooting live action on the golf course on in a tee box with various different looks of clothing, and I got to operate a 240 frames per second camera, creating some really unique shots with that. So yeah, I'm learning that side of things. And I think, for me, that some of that has already, Justin's kind of given me the nod that I've already kind of understand some of this stuff, because I've been producing some of my own stuff, editing and filming. And I ask questions and he sees that I'm a sponge, and I'm learning the progressions of film and editing and producing. And, so who knows, the next thing I'm going to do is, procure more business for BMX training media and create unique projects with certain companies that want to create unique stories, and so that's one thing I love doing. I love storytelling through film. So that's something that I'm working on. Of course, I'm going deep with it. So that's a passion.
So there you go. So that's what has I'm not going to say replaced your road racing, but that's the next thing That's
I
what you've been
don't.
going deep. I don't think I say it replaced it, but
Yeah.
if I'm watching you on social, because I've seen some kind of some storyline about. I know you and Justin been doing those early morning shoots on the golf course, but yeah, you're basically doing your apprenticeship um,
Yes.
in video media production, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah.
Now,
Whether it's video or just media, whether it's film. I haven't got behind the lens of a camera lens on an actual photo camera lens, but I'm starting to understand a lot of the jargon crosses over into, in terms of your f-stop, shutter speed, and stuff like that. So it gets real technical, but it's a challenge. It's fun. I don't know if it necessarily replaces anything. I think it's just adding. I think it's just
nice.
adding skill sets. I think it's important for you guys to add to continuously challenge themselves by adding skill sets. You don't want to be stuck doing the same thing, 10, 15, 20 years. I see guys that have been in a business, doing the same thing for 20 years, and I don't know how people could do that. To me, that's prison to me. I want to keep moving. So
Well, some people do that, and
and
it's
I respect that. That's
yeah, for
totally
sure.
cool.
No, it's great. And to me, that as an outsider, I think, okay, well, knowing Greg, he probably was like ADHD, undiagnosed. He just kind of like naturally figured out a way to keep his brain stimulated so that he can keep moving forward. And God bless you, man. Like you're able to articulate it. That's huge. And I think that's a lot of us, right? Kind of, we didn't quite fit into any specific box, but I think the people who found success in general have learned to keep moving, and maybe it wasn't a career path, but they found a way to keep moving, keep progressing, and be and evolve. What I would like to say though is, going back to you getting over yourself or learning to get over yourself, is that it would be real hard for you to do those things if if you were the narcissistic, man child. It'd be real hard for you to be the
Sure.
grip, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean it's crazy. I mean, I never talked to these new golf Olympians, but and it wasn't until after the shoot that it dawned to me. It's like, shoot, man, I've coached at 3 Olympics, and these guys are newfound Olympians. They're talking about it on, in the interviews that we were conducting with them and whatnot. And here I am. I'm just a light guy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's important for you to get over yourself. I mean, we all have an ego. It's just a matter of how you feed it, right? So I think for me, I feed it through being competitive in versus myself in terms of going through progressions physically, whether it's in the gym, whether it's sprinting a bicycle, whether it's surfing a surfboard or handling a hockey puck. I think I feed my ego in a different way.
Right.
So,
Do you get bored?
if it becomes monotonous, yes. I think I love a new challenge every season. Like with road racing, that was something that I've taken on. I've done it a long, long time ago, but because of circumstances of coaching, I wasn't able to go deep into road cycling. But I always knew in the back of my head I wanted to revisit it, and so when I did revisit it 2 years ago, it was still new to me. I still didn't understand a lot of it, but as I'm moving progressionally fast through the sport of road racing, and really, don't get me wrong, I mean, I'm not doing stage racing Tour de France style. I'm simply just going around in a parking lot criterium for an hour and then sprinting at the end, and of course playing the mouse and cat games in between. But do I get bored? I like different challenges. So the last I never want to do the same thing season after season. I think in cycling, I'm looking to play a different role. Last season, I was helping out a team, helping out a couple of our sprinters that were a little bit more seasoned, or a lot more seasoned than I was. But now I'm going to be on a team where, the focus is going to be on me and setting me up for the win rather than me setting up other guys for the wins. And I'm up for that challenge. I don't want the pressure or the limelight of like, oh gosh, I'm the guy. I'm going to be the finisher. I'm going to be
No,
the closer.
I don't get that's why you're doing it,
Yeah. I mean, that
but
part doesn't.
you're good with getting the ball in the last second of the game.
Yeah, I think I want to be able to be in a position to convert and more importantly, just do something different. I mean, I love setting people up for the win, just like I do in coaching. But yeah, I'm looking forward to being set up and seeing what that's like,
Yeah,
see what that's like. And maybe,
it's definitely another
maybe
experience.
it's definitely another experience, and it'll be a different perspective that can potentially help me out with my coaching. So, but yeah, I don't think I think getting bored is not the key. I think just coming up with new challenges is the hard part. And so I think a lot of people, I look around, I think a lot of people they have a hard time coming up with new challenges, even in BMX racing. It's like, okay, the Olympics is over, for a lot of these top pros. What's next? Do I go after a North American title? Do I go after the UCI World Championships? Do I go after, what do you want to do?
What do you want?
What do you
I
want?
love that. It always begins with what do you want with me, and I love asking that question because people squirm. Because it's about taking ownership of what you want, and it's difficult to get what you want if you don't own it. There's, like I always say, it's different. There's a big difference between it'd be nice to have versus I want that.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I think the key is owning it. Yeah, for sure, and owning it for the right reasons. I think is I think taking ownership is also has its barriers, to taking ownership, if you will. So
yeah. Pride and ownership, my friend. Pride and ownership. So as you know, I think you might have heard a couple of episodes of this show with your busy schedule. I do ask a couple questions that are pretty standard template gold medal mindset questions, and I'll get started on that section, and then we can be off, and you can run your errands, take care of that fender bender. What's your biggest win and biggest loss?
Personally,
period. Full stop.
Biggest win. I mean, I can get cliche. I could just get straight to the point. Something that was, potentially life changing. I don't know. I think for me, my biggest win was seeing Mike Day and Jill Kittner qualify for the Olympics and then setting them up to go get medals in Beijing, because those were, that was at a time where I was fresh out of racing, and, the challenge for me was to get over myself and help these guys out. And so for me, that was a real big win, just learning how to transition in life from getting over to helping someone else out with their dreams.
Nice. I like that. And I like how you said it wasn't even necessarily the medal. It was really just being in that process and seeing them cross over into, qualifying and then achieving their goal. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, the road undulated like no other. It had huge peaks. It had huge valleys. Yeah. Biggest loss? I don't know.
You don't lose much.
I don't have any regrets. I mean, well, BMX racing is it is a high failure rate sport. If you look at getting first place as, anything but winning, I'm not sure. I think the biggest I can't really define anything as a big loss. Maybe that's a tough one, Jay. And I don't mean that in a conceited way. I'm just trying to think of if it was like a race. I don't know. Maybe it was a UCI World Championships where I tensed up out of the last turn and I just realized too much that, hey man, this is just way too real, and I just tried way too hard, and got way too intense with it, and that's why I tensed up. But that was a great learning moment for me because I'm learning to not tense up when things get intense. So,
Yeah.
um,
Right. Usually,
so
usually those big losses are they end up being wins anyway. But but you and at the same time they're personal, right? They just kind of sting. Not that you're like scarred for life, but you carry them with you for whatever reason, or not for whatever reason, but you just carry them with you, even though they are, um, even though it turns out in the long run to be bittersweet.
yeah, it's definitely bittersweet because I mean, I look at the guy that won, and he doesn't seem any happier than he was after the moment he won that
No,
race.
I
So,
would agree
I
with
mean,
that. I would agree with
tw-
that.
20 years later, I mean, what does it mean to you? So, I think it's what you extract out of it in terms of any loss that you take on, and whether you see the silver lining 2 minutes later, or if you see it 2 decades later. I mean, um, in terms of any other loss, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think in terms of any kind of loss, we could look at it like this in business: is if you have a great idea and you feel strongly about it, um, you know, don't second guess yourself. And I think anytime I've second guessed myself, that's a loss. That is a loss. I'm learning more and more to just make good decisions and not try to question it too much. If I feel like it's a great decision, then why do I need to keep, bouncing the idea, across 20 people, you
Paralysis
know?
analysis, analysis
Yeah.
paralysis, or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like with the membership business, like I spoke about. I wish I would have launched that 4 or 5 years ago. It would have been great. It would have the growth, 4 years later would have been tremendous, and potentially solve a couple of the issues out there that we have in terms of churn, in terms of membership. But yeah, if there's anything that you get out of this conversation is definitely, don't second guess yourself.
Cool. So you might have answered the last question, but the last question is, what do you wish every human knew? What's one thing you wish every human knew?
That you have a chance. That you have a chance. When you get in that elevator, you have a chance to get to the penthouse, right?
You do have a chance. You got a
Uh,
shot.
yeah. You have a chance, but obviously you have to create those chances. So you got to surround yourself with good people. I don't think there's one human being out there that hasn't experienced being surrounded by a negative person or someone that is just not contributing to their camp well. And I think everyone has experienced a positive person that has contributed to their camp well. So I think it comes down to, creating opportunities by surrounding yourself with good people that are successful. I think that's the key.
Yeah, and to take that a step further, I've noticed that people don't always run at the same speed. And when people are moving fast, and when I say moving fast, it really
Mm,
kind of growing and accelerating and evolving at a different rate, say as their peers or their friends. Sometimes guilt sets in, sometimes shame sets in, sometimes the whole crabs in a barrel type thing. Um, and it's I just ask that people recognize, that we all run at different speeds, and that's fine. And
yeah,
but to be mindful enough to be aware of your pace, and if you have a problem with your pace, whether it's too fast or too slow, then it's on you to adjust that, and then it's on you to be okay with it, and that's it.
sure, sure, sure.
Yeah. So, but once that starts getting dictated by the comparison and all that stuff, and yeah, you do start to marginalize yourself, and you do start to kind of see
Yeah,
see what you don't have rather than what you do have, which is a shot.
yeah, yes, yes. So yeah, I mean, I think I'm understanding what you said, because it's interesting. I actually have an anecdotal story to share with that. when I started racing road, I started having a lot of success and finding myself really being in a position to be a closer at the end. And some people, they couldn't deal with it. They had a hard time accepting that I was moving and progressing really fast. So either, unbeknownst to them, they were potentially frustrating me to slow down. I wasn't going to let their perspective or potentially their insecurities slow me down.
Nice.
Right. And I want to say I've even experienced that pretty much in everything and anything I've done. But even and I think that just naturally happens to anybody that's moving fast through the progressions and believing in themselves and finding success right off the hop, is that, you are moving fast and someone may not understand that, and they're going to try to frustrate you, and you can't take it personal and understand that that's on them, not on you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Not letting someone else's insecurities slow you down or get in your way. That's good. That was like the golden nugget of the century right there. I like that.
Okay. Great.
All right, G. I think that's
Cool.
it. We did it.
Thank you very much, Doc. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. We've mentioned BMX training several times, bmxtraining.com, but how else can other people find you, follow you, and get things from you of value?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can shoot me an email, info@bmxtraining.com. You can find me on social media at BMX Coach. And that's pretty much Instagram. Twitter is at Greg Romero. So there you have it.
There you have it. All right, man. Thanks again.
You're welcome.
Thanks for taking the time to mine for gold on the Gold Medal Mindset podcast. Let's keep the conversation going on Twitter at RealDrJRich or on the web at drjasonrichardson.com. That's drjasonrichardson.com. Take care and have a great day.